Hello, good evening. So like my internet is giving me a very unpleasant signal, but I think I'm good now. We are live, so Airtel should not do me this way this year because there are a lot of things I actually want to do this year, and the internet will be one of the key components. So if you are online with me, I want to welcome you to this program. And of course, this is also a brand new year, 2026. And I want to say a happy new year to you. A happy new year, officially, though unceremonial, because we've already done the celebration in our various churches, home, or anywhere you chose to um, celebrate your happy new year. Thank God this is a brand new year to all of us. And I strongly believe we are going to have a prosperous new year. Every plan that you have, everything you've set out to do in the year 2026, I pray to Almighty God that you will be able to achieve them. And I strongly believe that this year will be far, far better than last year, on the condition that you also plan yourself. So I remain your old Simeon Umar, and this is Path to Wealth Creation platform, a platform that is designed to impact and educate young generations, including the millennial and Gen Z, and new beginners to real estate investment to make profitable and sustainable real estate investment. Be rest assured that any information you are getting from this platform is genuine, is authentic, and I'm going to give you every necessary support you need to invest wisely in real estate. So follow me every Friday at 7 p.m. on this platform as I share to you what is happening in the industry and everything you need to know about real estate investment. So I want to welcome you once again to this program, and I want you to be rest assured that we are going to guide you and let you know everything you need to know about real estate investment. So today I'll be sharing a very interesting topic. When I share it on Facebook, I saw people's reaction. Some people commented and said, "Hope you are not trying to discourage us from giving." That is not part of what I'm here to teach. Of course, giving is very important and is very good for your survival. It's good to give. We have been taught, we have been guided on how to give. So this platform will not discourage you from giving because um, it is part of our obligation to give and to receive. In fact, it is more profitable to give than to receive. So I'm not here to discourage you on what to give, how to give, and when to give. I'm here to make you know that whatsoever you are doing, be intentional about it. And that's why the topic says, think like an investor and act stingy. In the year 2026, think like an investor and act stingy. Now, when I say act stingy, I didn't say you should think like. So there are two different things. You can think like an investor, and of course, act in a different way. And I've come to realize that when you are able to do this, it will help you to live a balanced life. It will help you to live intentionally. It will help you to plan yourself, plan your life, your investment, your expenses, your anything you're doing, anything you are doing. It will help you because when you think in a particular direction, your focus and your attention will be towards achieving that thing. No investor put in their money without having done their own due diligence. No investor spend their money recklessly. No investor throw his or her money away without some reasons behind it. So be intentional in everything you do. And that's why I say you should think like them. Because if you don't think like them, you can't become or be like them. And the best way to think like them is to study them, is to read about them, and if necessary, have them as your mentor. It will go a long way. You may not have direct access to them, but what about the materials, the books, probably that they have written or somebody have written about them? So with this in view, you can easily understand the way they think, even though you are not close to them. I've bought some books that have been helping me on how to think like an investor. And those things that I've read have also helped me to be more wiser, if there is anything like that, and to also spend intentionally and to also invest intentionally. So thinking like an investor is to have a mindset of financial management and discipline. And act like a stingy is to be prudent, is to know why you are really spending. I actually work very closely with one of my neighbors years ago, and people had been talking about this man as being a stingy person. And I was like, is this man really stingy? So I worked very closely with him and I began to study him. But on the contrary, this man is not really stingy. It is just that he spends his money wisely. It got to a point that I wanted to text him and I went to him that, please, can I get X amount of money from you? And to my greatest surprise, you think the man gave me the money, right? He didn't give me the money. He only advised me on how to get that money. And I was like, sure, um, uh, you know, and his advice were fantastic and productive. But to get money out of his hand, it was really difficult. But the idea, the advice he gave me, I worked on them. And even though I didn't get the money that I actually needed at that material time, he said they really worked for me. And there is also an adage or probably a quote that says, any money that you can give, don't borrow anybody. Any money that you can give out, don't borrow out. And the truth is, if you probably borrow somebody your money and the person couldn't return it, you feel bad, you feel disappointed, you feel betrayed, or even at a point when the person is using it against you, you feel discouraged. But if you actually give out a money that you can easily free your mind from it, even whether the person pays back or not, you are not really bothered. So you are good. So there was this concept that somebody taught me years ago that if somebody wants to borrow 50,000 from you and you can probably give out either 25,000 or 30, give it to the person and let him or her knows or tell him or her that this is the amount you can actually borrow. And peradventure or perhaps the person fails to return it, you are not really bothered because that amount, it is something you can actually give out freely. It is something that does not affect either your investment or your budget at that material time. In other words, you are not really bothered whether you get the money back or not, because at that material time, you've already zeroed in your mind that whether the money comes back or not, you are good. And that is another mindset that you need to also have. I'm not trying to tell you to be stingy or um, not to be a giver, but I'm telling you that certain things need to be put into consideration so that you will not regret any action that you might have taken. So using that ideology, or let me say that concept, has also helped me a lot. You know, if someone says, please, can you borrow me X amount of money? I'll say, oh, sorry, I may not be able to give you X amount of money, but this is what I can give. And sometimes I get it back, and sometimes I just let it go. So I wasn't affected, or it doesn't probably change who I am, or it doesn't change the kind of person that I want to be. And it does not affect me in any way from carrying out other responsibilities that are important. So that is the best way to think as an investor. I was reading recently about two powerful, or let me say, billionaires, you know, in person of Otedola and Tony Elumelu. Two of them late last year, someone invested and someone cashed out. Otedola sold his share in Gerugu Power Plant, Gerugu PLC, for $700 million. And prior to that period or something, Tony Elumelu also, invested about $750 million in another. You acquire some shares, right? At what name, Seplag or something. And I was wondering what is happening now? What is going on? At the same period, December, one cash out, one came in, and those are strategic decisions. Zero, those are strategic decisions. And you need to begin to ask yourself, what is the rationale behind this move? Why are these people trying to take this particular step towards this direction? You know, I bought the book written by Femi Otedola, Making It Big. And I could see the way this man started from the scratch and how he was able to build an empire, how he was able to rise from low level, or let me say from level of insignificance, to a level of significance. So these people haven't studied or haven't practiced the art of investment and how entrepreneurs operate, they've been able to make the right decisions. And those are, for me, something we need to learn from. So thinking like an investor is not about being stingy, or it's not about not being prudent. You know, it's about telling yourself and understanding why you want to make certain decisions. You think about the long time benefit of what you want to put your money into, and not about the short term benefit. You think about future inflow or future gain, and not about instant benefit. So sometimes we have to delay what I call delayed gratification. You have to apply delayed gratification because of what you really want to enjoy in the future. Sometimes you have to discipline yourself that, okay, let me just apply this measure and wait for future returns. So these are the ways through which you need to think like them, and will now help you to channel your resources intentionally, channel your resources productively, and without living your life based on luck or assumption. You are really, really intentional about the way you spend your money. And there is somebody I also look up to as one of our, will I call him role model. And I study his lifestyle. I look at the way he talks about finances and investment and spending, and I could see a man who is intentional on how he spent his money, someone who is prudent. Meanwhile, people around him look at him and concluded that he's a stingy man. But of course, I've also taken this assumption, and until I took time to study him and look at how he has been able to accumulate wealth and maintaining a simple life, well, I will have no other choice than to mention his name. I believe you will know him as well. The person of Peter Obi. I've never taken time to know him this deep. And until when it came to contest for the post of president in 2023, and I took time to read a lot about him, and I really came to a conclusion that this is the example and epitome of wealth and wealth management. You know, I read through how he became the governor of Anambra State and the amount of money he left in his account, and how people tag him as a stingy governor. And he came out to clarify that is not somebody that spend money recklessly. It is a prudent man. It is someone that discipline himself to the extent that he said, according to him, he doesn't have a house help, or he doesn't have house help. He doesn't have it. Somebody who is this wealthy with all the opportunity to spend his money lavishly. Of course, he chose a different path, and people tag him or call him different name. Is this, is that, but he maintained his course. And even to today, I was watching him last few weeks ago when he came to an event in Abuja, and to many people's surprise, this man took Uber, him and his wife. to their destination. And a lot of people were giving series of comments. Sometimes I ask myself, hope this man is taking good care of his wife, or this man, how his wife has been coping with him, you know. But well, it is something that I really, really learned from. You know, it's not about the clothes you wear, the shoe you put on, or your dresses that matters. Though those things are important, you need to look good then, but you don't need to spend to please anybody. You just need to look good and live a simple life. You are not, as an investor, you are not spending to please people. At that time, you don't need to do anything to please anybody. You're actually there to do what is best for you. So, as an investor, you are not a man pleaser, but somebody that spent with intentionality, somebody that spent with absolute intentionality. And let me quickly say that you don't need to you don't need to be stingy as a wealthy man. You don't need to be stingy. Though people may perceive you as such, but inside of you, you know that you are not really stingy. You know that you are not really stingy. So let me look at a few things here. Thinking like an investor, investors focus on value and not on appearance. Absolutely true. Investors, they focus on value and not on appearance. Stingy people, or let me say poor people, may want to do certain things to show off. They want to do it so that people will know that they have arrived. These people are men pleasers. But wealthy people or investors, they focus on value. What am I going to gain or achieve from this thing that I'm about to do? You know, they also ask question, what will the money become tomorrow? When they are spending their money today, they will ask them, what will it become tomorrow? If I should put in 20 million here, how much am I going to get in 3 or 4 years time? So these are the things you need to ask yourself before you put in your money, you know. And they think about long-term vision. They don't think about short-term gain or profits or pleasure. They're thinking about long-term vision, long-term goal over a short-time gain or pleasure. They also understand the difference between asset and liability. You know, I was reading the book of Otedola and he mentioned something that was really striking. He said he bought car for marketing. In other words, he bought an asset that will probably bring in more revenue or inflow for him. So when you buy a car, is you should ask yourself whether it's asset or liability. Of course, there is nothing wrong if you buy your personal car to run your daily activities. Nothing wrong about that. But when it comes to investing, you need to ask yourself, what why am I buying this car? Is it because I want to feel good or because I want people to know that I have money or I'm wealthy or why? So investors identify the difference between asset and liability. And if you even buy your own property, that doesn't mean that you have acquired an asset. Buying your own property doesn't mean that you are bought an asset because you are not really getting any direct inflow from such assets. So owning or having your own home is good, but I want you to know that it's not equivalent to an asset because you'll be spending money on it, you'll be maintaining it, you'll be doing certain major repairs when necessary, using external or other money that comes to your account or to your hand, and not from the income that home is generating. So you need to know the difference between asset and liability. So let me say, acting stingy is not is stingy is discipline and not deprivation. Act like a stingy is being disciplined and not a deprivation. If you know that eating good food will make you live a better life, why can't you eat good food? And instead of depriving yourself of eating healthy food, go ahead. It's not being stingy. In fact, for you to also build wealth and enjoy it, you need to eat good food. So it's about discipline and not deprivation. And it's also being careful and being intentional about how you spend your money, cutting unnecessary expenses. That's what I mean by saying that you need to act like stingy or like a stingy man. So that is what it means. You are very careful, you are very disciplined, and you are very intentional, and you are cutting unnecessary expenses to fund your investments. And as an investor, you pay yourself first. Yeah, you pay yourself first. You ensure that you invest your money where you're supposed to invest it. That's one of the beauty of thinking like an investor. Very important. So let me also give you a practical uh, action. Track your expenses weekly. As an investor, you should know what comes into your account and what goes out of your account. You are not trying to be stingy, but you are giving yourself a signal on how to manage your resources, on how to channel your resources when necessary. So set spending limit. As an investor, you also need to set your spending limit. You don't need to spend everything that comes into your account. You need to also have a limit. You know, I had this experience last year when somebody came and said I should contribute for certain thing. I said, "Oh, I would have loved to, but I've already exhausted my cash limit for this year." I've gotten to my spending limit, but I'm going to do it later. I just try to manage the way I spend. I'm not trying to be stingy, but I just need to be realistic. So reduce, it is also help you to reduce um, lifestyle inflation. Some people spend above their budget, they spend above their limits. Thinking like an investor will also help you to live a modest life, and it will also help you to, when you think like an investor, you also automate certain things. I was discussing with someone about this part to wealth creation and network um, wealth creation network, right? And I was telling him that he has already he has already automated his savings. That is very interesting and fantastic. So as an investor, you also need to automate your savings so that you don't need to wait, or you don't need to probably do it manually like the way some people do it. You've already automated it in such a way that once money hits your account, it goes to where you have already proposed for such payment to go to. So practical way is for you to pay yourself first. Practical way or practical work habit that you need to start now Yeah, practical wealth habits you need to start now. First is to um, pay yourself first. When you earn income, you try to set aside certain amounts as your investment. That's what it means. You pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. It is very important. And then the next one is create an investment budget. It is very important. Don't just spend anything that comes to your account. You need to create your investment budget. How much do you channel for investment purpose? Like what we are going to start to do this month for those who have keyed into Wealth Creation Network. Every month, starting from January, we'll be saving 20,000 from now to December. But I've done my own already, and I'm also encouraging those who are yet to do it to also start doing it. We have 30 people who have already keyed into it, and then the second batch is out already, and we have about 10 people who are already subscribed to it, and more inquiries are coming, and I'm also planning to see how I can increase it even in this current year. So if you are here listening to me and you've not been part of Wealth Creation Network, I want you to sign in and let's build wealth together coming this year. So one of the things that wealthy people think, or let me say what they do, is to uh, create an investment budget. Some people have already set out or automate their account in such a way that every month the money will be coming in. So the next one is build emergency fund. There are some cases or occasions whereby you'll be having unbudgeted expenses. So you need to look at what is coming to your pocket on a monthly basis and then set aside certain amount for emergency, right? It is very important. Build emergency funds. If something happens, God forbid, you won't need to be running up and down trying to get or borrow fund. I'm not praying, and I'm praying earnestly that you are not going to experience anything that will stretch your pockets. Yes, you are not going to experience anything that will stretch your pocket this year. Meanwhile, it is very important that you have an emergency fund. This is how wealthy people think. They usually have provision for everything they do. And of course, the next one is start small and be consistent. Start small, but be consistent. Like this platform that I created, saving 20,000 on a monthly basis, it is something that you and I should strive to to be part of. So when you start small and you are consistent, 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, 5 years from now, you will have built capacity, you will have built confidence in such a way that you can easily spend or invest huge amount of money. So it is something that you need to start on a gradual basis, on a very minimal level. If you are coming in for the very first time, you don't need to set a high target or a high goal, a higher goal or a high goal. You need to be very honest and realistic about the way you set your investment target. And all you need to do, no matter how small, you have to be very consistent. It is very important to do that. And of course, invest in knowledge before investment product. Many people are really missing out or they are not really taking this important point into consideration before they invest their money. Something I also read from the book written by Otodola was one of the things I read was he always takes his time to read about any investment before committing his money into it. He studied the investment or studied the market. It takes time to understand the investment is about to go into. It is very unfortunate that many people invest in real estate without even knowing anything about real estate. And that's why they are being scammed. That's why they are being misled. And it's quite sad that many people lose their money because they don't have adequate knowledge about what they are investing into. I read in the book when Tadala wanted to go into real estate. Of course, he has friends that are already playing big in the sector, but that wasn't enough for him to venture into it. He said he did a lot of research, he read books, and having understood the sector, he started gradually. He didn't put all his energy into it. He started bit by bit. And that was part of what really saved him when he was declared bankruptcy. When he went bankrupt, that was what really saved him. I mean, when he ran into debt, sorry, when he ran into debt, one of the safest parts for him was the real estate investment he had. So that was what really bailed him out. You know, he bought properties in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, and some other part of the country in Abuja. So when he had this huge debt around him, one of the things he did was to allow some of his creditors to take up those properties. And it really saved him from, at least to some extent, in paying off his debts. So you need to understand or invest in knowledge. As you can see behind me, before I started this program, I invested a lot. I bought books, watched programs, watched videos online before I started it. So if you are here listening to me, one of the things you also need to do is to invest in knowledge before investment product. So the next thing is what you also need to do is to ask questions. It is very important. You can ask questions from experts. It is very important. Ask questions from experts. Don't just depend on what you've read alone. You also need to attend programs and conferences. They are very important. Just take time to attend programs, seminars, conferences, webinar. Now we have many videos on YouTube that you can read before putting your money into that investment. So if you are someone out there that wants to invest in real estate, you need to take time to watch videos on YouTube. You need to take time to attend at least one or two seminars. The reason being that you can understand some terminologies that people usually use in this sector. When you have this knowledge, those terminologies, like for instance, if you want to invest in real estate, you need to know what deed of assignment is, what CFO is, what does it mean, gazette, register survey, deed of assignment, accession, plot details, you know, and many other things. If you are going to invest in building apartment, you need to know what is terrace, what is a bungalow, what is semi-detached, all those terms. You need to familiarize yourself with them so that when you hear about it, you can easily interpret and understand what they mean. You need to know what it means by restriction. When you hear government allocation, what does it mean? When you hear government acquisition, what does it mean? So even when the buyer, or let me say the developer, are presenting those documents to you, you have a clear understanding and you can easily interpret those documents. So it is very important you invest in knowledge, and you need to also ask questions. You can also challenge participants to review their spending. Okay, sorry. So you also need to review a lot of things before you put in your money. If you have gotten those documents, you also need to ask yourself. I've seen several occasions whereby people come to me after investing their money. That Mr. Simeon, sorry, what does this mean? And by the time I explained to them, they were like, oh, and I don't understand though. I would have done more, or I would have made further inquiry before I put my money into it. So you don't need to jump into any investment that you don't really understand. And that is why I really appreciate people that are calling me for more information and detail about what I'm doing, Path to Wealth Creation or Wealth Creation Network. Some people came and asked me, where are we going to invest the property or invest our money? And I gave them several options, places, and locations that we are looking at. Okay, how many years can I also withdraw from this investment? Yes, you can. 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, if you want to withdraw, of course, you can do so. All you need to do is to give us a notice ahead, because we also need to promote or put your slots under our platform as available for sale. So it's very important you have this at the back of your mind. If you want to sell out your slot, just give us a month notice ahead, and then we are going to put your slot available for sale. And the platform is designed in such a way that anybody from your cycle can easily buy your slot, because before 3 or 4 years after, the property will have appreciated, and there will be a platform, or let me say a way, through which you can easily identify or see the current value of your investment. This platform is going to be transparent, is going to be accessible. We are going to do everything in our capacity to give you all the necessary information you need to know, because I understand that trust is very important in this program. People cannot really put their money where they can have or where they don't trust. So we understand that, and I personally understand that trust is the foundation of any great success or any great investment or company or anything in this life. Trust is key, and that's why we are very intentional about what we are doing. One of the things we are going to be doing on a monthly basis is to share on the platform the payment evidence from every subscriber. It will not going to be done in the secret. I will make sure that everybody in the platform is carried along. We are going to carry everybody along. We are going to give necessary information when necessary, and we are going to ensure that you have access to me, particularly because I'm the face of this idea. So be rest assured that everything that we are doing on this platform is going to be transparent, it's going to be open. We are not trying to scam anybody, we are not trying to run away with your money. We are doing everything in our capacity to build wealth, especially for those at the lower ladder, low income, mid income, and high income earner. We want to make real estate investment accessible and available to as many as possible. And that's why I keep encouraging people that this year, do something that your future will be grateful for. Today is the future you were expecting yesterday. Today is the future you are expecting yesterday. And the future you don't plan for, you can't really enjoy it. And today is the best way to prepare for another future. So you need to take your life seriously. And the same way, you also need to take investment seriously. You need to find, at least on a monthly basis, what you should be investing on. I was sharing with somebody who told me that he has debt around him. And I told him, I said, you are not the only one that is in debt. As a matter of fact, when you have debt, you also need to have investment so that as you are paying your debt, you're also building investment somewhere that will cater for your tomorrow. Why some people run into debt is because they don't have any backup. Imagine when Otedola was in debt and it doesn't have any investment like real estate, shares, and other investment um, instruments. It would have been a catastrophe. But the fact that he has some investment that are yielding returns for him on a monthly basis and annually, he could confidently tell the creditors to take over those assets and use them to pay off his debt. Sorry if I had to use a scenario from the Bible when a woman ran to Elisha and said, my husband is late and the debtors are here to carry my children. It was a sad story. Sometimes when we are reading a story that we are not part of, we don't really understand how devastating and how terrible the experience would be. So the woman ran to meet the prophet and said, really, your servant is faithful. Your servant fears God. But now the creditors are here to take my children as a replacement to what my husband was owing before he died. And the man said, what do you have? He has no asset, he has no investment, he has nothing that could probably pay off his debt. So the woman said, my husband has nothing, and even me, the only thing I have is a jar of oil. And the man of God said, okay, it's okay, it's okay. If that's all you have, it's okay. Go and borrow more vessels and keep pouring that same oil that you said you have and keep pouring inside those vessels and use them to pay your debts and leave the remaining one to survive. I'm just trying to figure out. Let's assume this woman pay off her husband debt and the remaining one he didn't put it into or she didn't put it into proper use. She will still run into debt. But I strongly believe the woman must have learned her lesson. She must have understood how to trade and, more importantly, how to invest wisely. Because if not, I strongly believe she will still run into debt if care is not taken. So sometimes you need to be careful the way you live your life. You need to be prudent. You need to be intentional about how you spend your money. You need to be very calculative. You need to be very intentional when it comes to investment. So as we are entering this new year or haven't entered the new year, my question is, what plans have you put in place to ensure that you don't end this year the same way you ended last year? So it is very important for you to ask yourself, hope I'm not going to end this current year the same way I ended last year. So the only way through which you can end the current year differently is for you to think differently, is for you to spend differently, and for you to invest wisely. It is very important you put all the things that I've said into consideration. I know it won't be easy, especially for those of us that have not done it before. I perfectly understand and I sincerely agree with any reason whatsoever that you will come up with to justify why you can't really invest this year. But my advice to you is no matter what happens to you last year is a product of how you were thinking. So this year, you need to think differently. This year, you need to be very, very intentional. You read materials, you read books, you read journals, you go online to seek knowledge. And I strongly believe that by the time you do all this, you are going to have a good and a prosperous new year. So this year, I'm encouraging you. This year, I'm challenging you. And this year, I want you to make a difference. I want you to determine, I want you to be determined, and I want you to be intentional about how you spend your money this year. And you need to think like an investor because wealth is built quietly through discipline. Wealth is built quietly through discipline before it is celebrated loudly. Wow. Wealth is built quietly through discipline before it is celebrated loudly. So until I come your way next week on this same program, Path to Wealth Creation, I want you to think wealth and grow rich. Thank you and God bless you.